The alarm bells rang through the Galactic Council monitoring station like thunder in space. Lieutenant Commander Zek of the Altarian Republic stared at his screen with 4 eyes wide in disbelief. For 3,000 years, nothing had entered the Veil Nebula. Nothing could enter the Veil Nebula. The ancient defense systems left by the mysterious architects made sure of that. Yet there it was on his sensors. A ship, not just any ship, but a human vessel floating peacefully in the heart of the Forbidden Zone, where no life should exist. "Are you certain about this reading?" Chancellor Vex asked as she entered the monitoring room. Her purple skin had turned pale, something that happened when Altarians felt extreme fear. "Yes, Chancellor. The ship appeared 15 minutes ago. Our long-range scanners confirm it is the USS Horizon, a human exploration vessel that was reported missing 6 months ago near the outer colonies." Chancellor Vex felt her 3 hearts beating faster. She had lived for 200 years and served on the Galactic Council for 50 of them. Never had she seen anything that scared her more than this moment. The Veil Nebula was forbidden for good reason. It was where the architects had vanished, along with their entire civilization that once ruled the galaxy with technology beyond imagination. "Contact Earth immediately," she ordered, "and prepare an emergency session of the Galactic Council." Aboard the USS Horizon, Captain Jake Morrison was having the worst day of his career. He stood on the bridge looking out at swirling purple and blue gases that definitely should not be there. The last thing he remembered was ordering a routine hyperspace jump near Europa Station. Now his navigation officer was telling him they were somewhere impossible. "Captain, I have run the star charts 3 times, said Navigation Officer Lisa Park. She was a small woman with dark hair who never made mistakes with numbers. "According to our position, we are in the center of the Veil Nebula." "That cannot be right," Jake said. He was a tall man with gray hair who had been exploring space. For 20 years, he knew every safe hyperspace route in human territory. "The Veil Nebula is over 2,000 light-years from our last position. Also, it is completely forbidden by galactic law." "Sir, our chronometer shows we have been missing for 6 months," added Communications Officer Maria Santos. "But I have no memory of anything after we entered hyperspace near Europa." Dr. Alex Foster, the ship's science officer, looked up from his instruments with confusion on his face. "Captain, this is impossible. My sensors show the nebula around us, but our ship should be destroyed. The stories say nothing can survive in here." Jake walked to the center of his bridge. Around him, 200 crew members were depending on him to keep them safe. He had always been good at solving problems, but this was beyond anything he had ever faced. "Maria, try to contact Earth," he ordered. "Alex, run full scans of our ship and the space around us. Lisa, check every system twice. I want to know how we got here." Meanwhile, news of the human ship was spreading across the galaxy faster than light itself. On the homeworld of the Zephyrian Empire, war leader Krex slammed his massive fist on his command table. The Zephyrians looked like giant lizards with red scales and bad tempers. "The humans have gone too far this time," he roared to his council. "They have violated the most sacred law in the galaxy. The Veil Nebula has been forbidden since before their species even learned to walk upright." On the peaceful world of Cetacea, the whale-like collective gathered in their great ocean cities to discuss this strange event. Elder Sonim, whose songs could be heard across entire star systems, spoke to her people through their shared water. "This is not like the humans we know," her song said. "They are young and sometimes foolish, but they are not evil. There must be another explanation." Admiral Kate Sullivan received the emergency message while her fleet was patrolling the border between human and Kryn space. She was a tough woman who had fought in 3 wars, but the message made her hands shake. A human ship in the Veil Nebula could mean war with every other species in the galaxy. "Set course for the nebula immediately," she ordered her fleet. "Maximum speed." Back on the monitoring station, more ships began appearing on the sensors. The Kryn hegemony sent their most powerful warships. the Altarian Republic dispatched their fastest science vessels. Even the mysterious Void Walkers, who rarely spoke to other species, sent representatives. Chancellor, Lieutenant Commander Zek reported, I count 47 ships heading toward the nebula. Every major power in the galaxy is responding. Chancellor Vex stared at the growing fleet on her screens. She knew that some of those ships carried weapons powerful enough to destroy entire planets. If they decided the humans were a threat, there might not be a galaxy left to govern. Open a channel to all ships, she commanded. This is Chancellor Vex of the Galactic Council. All vessels will maintain a safe distance from the Veil Nebula until we understand what has happened. Any ship that attacks without Council approval will be considered an enemy of galactic peace. In the depths of the Veil Nebula, Captain Jake Morrison and his crew worked to understand their impossible situation. They had no idea that their appearance had brought the galaxy to the edge of war. They only knew they were lost in a place where nothing should be able to live, with no memory of how they got there. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from 12 major civilizations gathered in the Great Chamber on Council Station, floating in neutral space between their territories. The air itself seemed heavy with fear and anger. Ambassador Ryan Tucker of Earth stood at the human podium, feeling very alone. He was a diplomatic man who had spent his career building friendships between species. But today, every eye in the chamber looked at him with suspicion. Some looked at him with outright hatred. Honored council members, Ryan began, the human government wants to assure everyone that we had no knowledge of the USS Horizon entering the Veil Nebula. We are as confused by this event as you are. War leader Krex of the Zephyrian Empire rose from his seat, his red scales bright with anger. Confusion? Is that what humans call it when they violate the most sacred law in galactic civilization? The Veil Nebula has been forbidden for 3,000 years. The humans lie, declared Prime Minister Vorth of the Kryn hegemony. The Kryn looked like insects but were twice the size of humans, with 4 arms and minds as sharp as their claws. They have been developing secret technology. This is their attempt to claim the power of the architects. Elder Sonem of the Cetacean Collective sang her disagreement, her whale-like voice filling the chamber with harmonics that made everyone feel calmer. The humans are young, yes, but they are not deceitful by nature. In the 50 years since first contact, they have kept their promises to us. 50 years is nothing, snapped Representative Thys of the Silicon Brotherhood. The crystal beings rarely showed emotion, but their geometric forms were pulsing with rapid light patterns that meant great concern. We have watched civilizations for millennia. Humans are unpredictable and dangerous. While the Council argued aboard the USS Horizon, Dr. Alex Foster was making disturbing discoveries. His scans of the ship's systems showed modifications that should not exist. The quantum drive that powered their faster-than-light travel had been changed with technology he did not recognize. Captain, Alex reported to Jake Morrison, someone has modified our ship. The changes are far beyond anything in human technology. When could this have happened? Jake asked. We were in space dock at Mars for only 3 days before our mission. That is the problem, sir. These modifications would take months to install, and they would require tools we do not have. Also, the materials used in these changes are not found anywhere in human space. Communications Officer Maria Santos looked up from her station with worry on her face. Captain, I am picking up transmissions from inside the nebula. They are not from any known species. Can you understand them? No. Sir, but they seem to be responding to our presence. Each time we move or scan in a new direction, the signals change. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Something was watching them from the swirling gases of the nebula, something that had been waiting for them. Back at the council session, Chancellor Vex was trying to maintain order, but the situation was getting worse by the hour. Representatives, please remember that we are here to find solutions, not to assign blame. There is only one solution, War Leader Krex declared. The human ship must be destroyed immediately, before it can access whatever secrets lie in the nebula. You would murder 200 innocent people without even investigating what happened? Ryan Tucker asked, his diplomatic training barely keeping his anger under control. Better 200 deaths than the return of whatever destroyed the architects, Krex replied. Dr. Theiss of the Silicon Brotherhood stepped forward, their crystal form reflecting the chamber's lights in sharp patterns. We propose a compromise. Let our scientists examine the human vessel. If they have broken the ancient laws through their own actions, they will face judgment. If they are victims of forces beyond their control, we will help them. The Kryn hegemony does not trust human science, Prime Minister Vorth said. We will send our own investigators. As will we, added the representative from the Void Walkers, speaking for the first time. Their species rarely participated in council discussions, preferring to observe from the shadows of space. Elder Sanem sang again, her voice carrying wisdom from her people's long memory. Perhaps we should ask the humans in the nebula what they remember. Before we decide their fate, should we not hear their story? Chancellor Vex saw an opportunity to prevent immediate violence. The Council will establish a joint investigation team. Each major power may send one representative to examine the situation. The human ship will not be harmed during this investigation. And if they refuse to cooperate, War Leader Krex demanded, then we will take stronger action, Chancellor Vex replied, hoping she would not have to keep that promise. The vote was close. 7 civilizations supported the investigation. 4 wanted immediate action against the humans. 1 abstained. The investigation was approved, but Chancellor Vex knew this was only a delay. If the investigators found evidence that humans had deliberately entered the nebula, nothing would stop a war. Admiral Kate Sullivan received the Council's decision, while her fleet maintained position at the edge of the Veil Nebula. Around her, alien warships from across the galaxy waited with weapons ready. The tension was so thick she could almost touch it. Admiral, her communications officer reported, we are receiving a transmission from the USS Horizon. Put it through. Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through clearly, despite the strange interference from the nebula. Admiral Sullivan, this is Captain Morrison. We need to talk. Jake, thank God you are alive. Do you have any idea what kind of situation you have created? No, ma'am, but I am beginning to understand it is serious. Admiral, something is very wrong here. Our ship has been modified with technology we do not recognize, and we are detecting structures inside the nebula, large structures. Admiral Sullivan felt her blood turn cold. Structures in the Veil Nebula could only mean one thing. The architects had left something behind, something that had been waiting in the Forbidden Zone for 3,000 years. Jake, a joint investigation team is coming to examine your situation. Whatever you do, do not explore those structures until they arrive. Understood, Admiral. But Kate, I think we were brought here for a reason, and I do not think we brought ourselves. The joint investigation team arrived at the edge of the Veil Nebula 3 days later aboard the Council science vessel Harmony. Dr. Alex Foster watched through the USS Horizon's viewports as the sleek ship approached, carrying representatives from 6 different species who would decide humanity's fate. Captain Jake Morrison straightened his uniform and prepared to meet beings who might order his ship destroyed. He had been in dangerous situations before, but never one where the wrong word could start a galactic war. The investigation team beamed aboard the Horizon using advanced Altarian transport technology. Dr. Theiss of the Silicon Brotherhood arrived. First, their crystal form glowing with scanning lights. Behind them came Dr. Kess of the Cetacean Collective, wearing a water-filled suit that allowed her to survive in the ship's air. War Leader Grunt of the Zephyrian Empire stomped aboard with weapons visible on his belt, while Professor Nell of the Altarian Republic carried scientific instruments that hummed with energy. Welcome aboard the USS Horizon, Jake said, trying to sound confident. I am Captain Morrison. We will cooperate fully with your investigation. Dr. Thiss spoke in their musical crystal voice. Captain Morrison, we must examine your ship's modifications and question your crew about the missing 6 months. We must also understand how you survived entry into the nebula. That makes 2 of us, Jake replied. We want those answers as much as you do. The investigation began immediately. Dr. Thiss worked with Dr. Alex Foster to examine the quantum drive modifications, while Professor Nell interviewed crew members about their last memories before appearing in the nebula. War Leader Grunt searched the ship for weapons or technology that might explain their presence. Dr. Kess, the whale-like cetacean, focused on the strange signals coming from within the nebula. Her species had the best hearing in the galaxy, able to detect sounds across vast distances of space. These transmissions are unlike anything in our databases, Dr. Kess sang to the team. They are complex, layered with meanings we cannot translate. But there is something familiar about their pattern. Familiar how? Dr. Alex Foster asked. They remind me of the ancient songs my people sing about the time before the architects vanished. Our oldest stories speak of voices that called across the stars, teaching and guiding younger species. War Leader Grunt looked up from his search with suspicion on his reptilian face. You suggest the architects are still alive in the nebula? I suggest we should investigate the source of these signals, Dr. Kess replied calmly. Dr. Thiss completed their scan of the quantum drive and turned to address the group. The modifications to this ship are definitely architect technology. However, they were not installed by humans. The work shows skill far beyond current human abilities. Then who installed them? Jake asked. That is what we must discover. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Communications Officer Maria Santos was trying to decode the mysterious transmissions when something unexpected happened. The signals suddenly became clearer, as if responding to the presence of the investigation team. Dr. Kess, Maria called out, you need to hear this. The signals have changed. The cetacean scientist rushed to the communications station and listened, with her enhanced hearing. Her large eyes widened with amazement. These are not random transmissions, she sang excitedly. They are trying to communicate with us. The patterns have structure, like language. Can you translate them? Professor Nell asked. Perhaps, with time. But there is something else. The signals are coming from multiple sources within the nebula, all coordinating their transmissions. This suggests a network of some kind. Dr. Thiss processed this information with rapid light pulses across their crystal form. A network implies organization. Organization implies intelligence. If the architects survived their disappearance, they may have been waiting in the nebula. War Leader Grunt growled with concern. Waiting for what? Before anyone could answer, the ship's sensors detected something that made everyone freeze. 3 massive structures were approaching through the nebula's swirling gases, each one larger than any ship in the galaxy. Captain, Navigation Officer Lisa Park reported, we have 3 objects approaching. They are enormous, at least 50 kilometers long each. Jake looked at the investigation team. Do we run? Dr. Thiss studied their instruments. Our weapons would be useless against structures that size. Also, if they wanted to destroy us, we would already be dead. The structures stopped a safe distance from the horizon, close enough to be clearly visible but far enough to avoid seeming threatening. Through the viewports, the crew could see that these were not natural formations. They were clearly built by intelligent beings with smooth surfaces covered in symbols that glowed with soft light. The transmissions are much stronger now, Dr. Kess reported. They are definitely coming from those structures. Are they trying to talk to us? Maria asked. I believe so. The patterns are becoming more organized, as if they are learning how to communicate with our technology. Professor Nell studied her instruments with growing excitement. These structures are definitely architect origin. The energy signatures match samples we have found in ancient ruins. But the architects vanished 3,000 years ago, War Leader Grunt pointed out. Did they? Dr. Theiss asked. Or did they simply go somewhere we could not follow? Jake made a decision that would change galactic history. Dr. Kess, can you try to respond to their transmissions? Let them know we want to talk. The cetacean. Scientist sang a complex pattern into the communications system, translating her people's ancient greeting songs into radio waves. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the transmissions from the structures changed again, this time clearly, responding to Dr. Kess's message. They heard us, she sang with joy. They are trying to learn our language. Over the next hour, the team watched in amazement as the alien intelligence rapidly decoded their communications. The first clear message came through the ship's speakers in perfectly translated human English. Welcome, children of Earth. We have been waiting for you. The investigation team looked at each other with shock. War Leader Grunt reached for his weapon, while Dr. Theiss began rapid calculations. Professor Nell nearly dropped her instruments. Captain, Jake Morrison stepped forward to the communications station. This is Captain Morrison of the human vessel USS Horizon. Who are you? We are what the architects became. We are what you will become, if you choose wisely. Your species has been selected for the next phase of galactic evolution. Selected by whom? Dr. Theiss demanded. By us. By the architects, by those who came before us. The cycle continues, as it must. Jake felt the weight of the galaxy's attention on his response. Whatever he said next would determine not just the fate of his crew, but possibly the future of all civilizations. What do you want from us? We want to offer you the same choice we were offered long ago. The choice to grow beyond what you are, to become guardians of life itself. But first, you must prove you are worthy of such responsibility. The words from the ancient structures sent shock waves through both the USS Horizon and the waiting fleets outside the nebula. Captain Jake Morrison felt the weight of history pressing down on him as he realized they had made contact with beings older than any known civilization. What kind of test? Jake asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Not a test of strength or intelligence, the voice responded, seeming to come from everywhere at once. A test of wisdom. A test of your species' ability to grow beyond its current limitations. Dr. Theiss pulsed with rapid light patterns, their crystal form processing this information at incredible speed. You claim to be the architects. The architects vanished 3,000 years ago. How do we know you are who you say you are? Observe, the bore. Space around the USS Horizon began to change. The swirling gases of the nebula shifted and moved, forming patterns that told a story. The investigation team watched in amazement as the cosmic display showed them the history of the galaxy. They saw ancient civilizations rising and falling across millions of years. They watched as species learned to travel between stars, formed alliances, fought wars, and eventually learned to live in peace. Throughout it all, there were guides, beings who had evolved beyond physical form, but remained to help younger species grow. Every million years, a species is chosen to join us, the voice explained as the display continued. They become guardians, helping other species develop while protecting them from dangers they are not ready to face. Professor Nell of the Altarian Republic studied her instruments with growing excitement. The energy patterns here are manipulating space and time itself. This is technology beyond anything we thought possible. Technology is the wrong word, the voice said gently. We have moved beyond the need for machines. We have become one with the fundamental forces of the universe. War Leader Grunt growled with suspicion. Why should we trust you? If you have such power, why hide in this nebula? Why not reveal yourselves to the galaxy? Because the galaxy is not ready. Most species fear what they do not understand. They, would try to destroy us or steal our abilities for war. Only when a species proves it can think beyond itself can it join us. Dr. Kess sang a question in her whale-like voice. Why humans? There are older species, wiser species. The Cetacean Collective has existed for 10 million years. Age is not wisdom, the voice replied. Your people are wise in their way, but they are content with their ocean worlds. Humans are different. They are young and sometimes foolish, but they have something rare. The ability to change, to grow, to become more than what they are. Jake looked around at the investigation team. Representatives from different species who had come here expecting to judge humanity were now learning they might all be part of something much larger. What happened to the USS Horizon? Jake asked. How did we get here? We brought you here, through time as well as space. Your ship was taken from your normal timeline 6 months ago and prepared for this moment. The modifications to your vessel allow it to survive in our realm. Dr. Alex Foster spoke up from his position at the science station. You took us from our own time? That means we have been missing for 6 months in our timeline, but for us, no time has passed. Correct. Time moves differently here. We needed to prepare you for what comes next. And what comes next? Jake asked. Though he was beginning to suspect he already knew the answer. You must choose. Your species can return to its normal development, living and growing at its own pace, or you can take the next step in evolution and join us as guardians of the galaxy. That is a choice for all humanity, not just for us, Jake said. No, the choice belongs to those who prove themselves worthy. You and your crew are here because you represent the best qualities of your species. Your decisions will determine humanity's future. The communication was interrupted by an urgent call from Admiral Kate Sullivan outside the nebula. Captain Morrison, we have a problem. The Kryn hegemony fleet is moving toward the nebula. They have declared humans a threat to galactic security and are preparing to attack. Through the viewports, Jake could see lights in the distance where the fleets waited. Some of those lights were moving, growing brighter as ships approached, at high speed. The test begins now, the voice from the structures said. How will you respond to those who seek to destroy you out of fear? War leader Grunt reached for his weapons. We fight them. The Kryn have always been aggressive. They respect only strength. Violence would prove you are not ready for our gift. The voice warned. There must be another way, Dr. Thiss calculated rapidly. The approaching fleet has enough firepower to destroy everything in this nebula, including the ancient structures. They are risking the destruction of architect technology because of their fear. Jake made a decision that surprised everyone. Open a channel to the Kryn fleet. Sir, Maria Santos asked. If they want to talk to humans, they can talk to humans. Put me through to their fleet commander. The communication came through clearly. This is Battle Leader Zex of the Kryn hegemony. Human vessel, you will surrender immediately for judgment by the Galactic Council. Battle Leader Zex, this is Captain Morrison. I want to invite you and your officers to come aboard the USS Horizon as our guests. There was silence on the channel for several seconds. You invite us aboard your ship? You are in no position to make demands, human. I am not making demands. I am offering you the chance to see what we have discovered, to understand what is really happening here. It could be a trap, Dr. Thiss warned quietly. No, Jake said. If we are going to be guardians of the galaxy, we have to start by trusting the galaxy and hoping it will trust us. The voice from the structures spoke privately to Jake through the ship's internal communication system. You understand the nature of the test. Very good. Battle Leader Zex's response came after a long pause. We will send a small boarding party. If this is deception, human, your species will pay the price. Understood, Jake replied. Welcome to the USS Horizon. As the Kryn shuttles approached through the swirling gases of the nebula, Jake looked around at the investigation team that had come to judge humanity. Now they were all part of something that would change the galaxy forever. Dr. Thiss, Jake said, You asked earlier if we could trust these beings who claim to be the architects. I think the real question is whether they can trust us. The crystal being pulsed with thoughtful patterns. Captain Morrison, I believe you may be correct. Battle Leader Zex of the Kryn hegemony stepped aboard the USS Horizon with 12 armed warriors behind him. The insect-like being stood nearly 3 meters tall, his forearms ready for combat and his compound eyes scanning for threats. He had come expecting to find evidence of human treachery, not to witness the impossible. Battle Leader Zex, Captain Jake Morrison said, stepping forward with his hands visible and empty. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Do not mistake this for friendship, human, Zex replied, his translator giving his chittering language a harsh, mechanical tone. We are here to determine if your species has violated galactic law. Then you will want to hear this, Jake said, and nodded to Communications Officer Maria Santos. The voice of the evolved architects filled the ship's corridors, speaking directly to the new arrivals. Welcome, children of Kryn. We have watched your species grow for millennia. You have become strong, but strength without wisdom leads only to destruction. Battle Leader Zex and his warriors immediately raised their weapons, but found nothing to aim at. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. What sorcery is this? Zex demanded. Dr. Thys of the Silicon Brotherhood stepped forward, their crystal form pulsing with calm blue light. Battle Leader, these beings claim to be the architects. They have shown us the history of the galaxy and offered humanity a choice that affects all species. The architects are dead, Zex insisted. They vanished 3,000 years ago. They evolved, Professor Nell of the Altarian Republic explained. They moved beyond physical form but remained to guide younger species. They have been selecting guardian species for millions of years. The space around them began to shift again as the architects demonstrated their power. The walls of the ship became transparent, showing the vast structures floating in the nebula. Beyond them, Zex could see his own fleet approaching with weapons charged. Your fleet comes to destroy what it does not understand, the architect voice said. This has happened before with other species. Fear leads to violence. Violence leads to destruction. Battle Leader Zex lowered his weapon slightly. The humans entered the Forbidden Zone. By galactic law, this demands punishment. The humans were brought here by us, the voice explained. They were chosen because their species shows the potential to grow beyond its current limitations. But the choice is not theirs alone. Jake stepped forward. Battle Leader, we did not ask to be brought here. We did not know this place existed. But now that we are here, we have learned something that affects every species in the galaxy. Speak plainly, human. The galaxy needs guardians, beings who can protect younger species from dangers they are not ready to face. The architects have been doing this job for millions of years, but they need help. They need a species that can work with others, that can build bridges instead of walls. War Leader Grunt of the Zephyrian Empire, who had been listening quietly, suddenly spoke up. You suggest humans should become the new architects? Humans who have existed for only a few thousand years? Not replace, Jake corrected. Join, work together. But first, all of our species need to prove we can cooperate instead of fight. Dr. Kess sang from her water-filled suit, her whale-like voice carrying harmonics of ancient wisdom. The old songs of my people speak of this time, when the guardians would need to change, when new voices would join the cosmic chorus. Battle. Leader Zex studied the humans around him. These were not the aggressive conquerors his people feared. They were scientists and explorers who seemed as confused by their situation as everyone else. What do the architects want from us? Zex asked. Proof that the galaxy is ready for the next phase of evolution, the voice responded. Your fleets gather outside this nebula with enough weapons to destroy everything within it. Some seek understanding, others seek destruction. The choice you make in the next hour will determine the future of all civilizations. Through the ship's sensors, they could see more fleets arriving. The Altarian Republic, the Cetacean Collective, the Silicon Brotherhood, even the mysterious Void Walkers had sent ships. The most powerful military forces in the galaxy were gathering in one place. "This could be the largest battle in galactic history," Professor Nell observed quietly. "Or it could be the beginning of true galactic cooperation," Jake replied. Admiral Kate Sullivan's voice came through the communications system. "Captain Morrison, the situation out here is getting worse. Some fleets are demanding immediate action against the nebula. Others want to protect it. We need a solution fast." Jake looked around at the beings surrounding him. Representatives from 6 different species, each with their own fears and hopes for the future. "Battle Leader Zex," Jake said, "your fleet has the most powerful weapons here. If you give the order to attack, many will follow. If you give the order to stand down, many will also follow." "You ask me to trust humans with the power of the architects? I ask you to trust that all our species can work together. The architects are not offering to make humans into gods. They are offering to teach us how to serve others." Dr. Thiss pulsed with rapid calculations. "The mathematics of cooperation versus conflict clearly favor cooperation. Working together, our species could accomplish far more than any single civilization." The architect voice spoke again, but this time with a note of urgency. "Time grows short. Your fleets grow more aggressive with each passing moment. Soon, fear will overcome wisdom, and the chance for peace will be lost." Battle Leader Zex made the most important decision in Kryn history. He activated his communicator and spoke to his fleet in his own language, then switched to galactic standards so everyone could understand. "All Kryn vessels, this is Battle Leader Zex. Stand down from attack positions. Lower shields and prepare for peaceful contact." The effect was immediate. On sensors, they could see the Kryn ships powering down their weapons. Other fleets began to follow their example. "That was wise," the architect voice said with approval. "But this is only the first test. The real challenge comes next." "What challenge?" Jake asked. "You must decide not just to avoid war, but to actively work together. To prove that your species can truly cooperate for the good of all." Dr. Kess sang a question. "What would this cooperation look like?" "Come with us. See what we have built. In the depths of the nebula. Learn what guardianship truly means. Then decide if your species are ready to take that responsibility." Jake looked at the investigation team, now expanded to include the Kryn warriors. "Are we ready to see what the architects have been building for 3,000 years? Battle Leader Zex spoke for them all. "Lead the way, human. But know that if this is deception, the consequences will be severe." "I understand," Jake replied. "But I do not think it is deception. I think it is the most important choice our species have ever faced." The USS Horizon moved deeper into the Veil Nebula, guided by forces beyond their understanding. Captain Jake Morrison watched through the viewports as the swirling gases parted before them like curtains revealing a stage. What they saw beyond took the breath away from every being aboard the ship. A city floated in space, but not like any city they had ever imagined. Structures of pure light stretched across thousands of kilometers, connected by bridges that seemed to be made of crystallized time itself. Gardens of living energy bloomed between towering spires that hummed with the music of creation. "Magnificent," Dr. Thice whispered, their crystal form pulsing with patterns of awe. "It is beautiful," Dr. Kess sang, her whale-like voice carrying harmonics of wonder. Battle Leader Zex and his Kryn warriors stared in silence. For a people who prized strength and conquest, seeing something built purely for beauty and knowledge was overwhelming. "This is our home," the architect voice explained as they approached the incredible city. "We built it over millions of years, not with machines and metal, but with will and wisdom. Here, we study the fundamental forces of existence and guide the development of younger species." The ship docked at a platform that formed itself from light as they approached. Security Chief Ben Carter, a tough man who had served in 3 wars, checked his instruments nervously. "Captain, I am reading no atmosphere on that platform, but the architects say we can walk there safely." "They have been right about everything else so far," Jake replied. "Let us trust them a little longer." As they stepped through the airlock, the investigation team found themselves breathing normally despite being in open space. The platform beneath their feet felt solid, but they could see stars through its transparent surface. "Welcome to the Nexus," a new voice said, and they turned to see their first physical architect. The being appeared as a tall figure of shifting light, sometimes looking almost human, sometimes taking forms that resembled the other species present. It was as if the architect could become whatever was needed to communicate with each observer. "I am called the Curator," the being said. "I was once a member of a species much like yours, before we learned to transcend physical limitations." Professor Nell of the Altarian Republic studied the Curator with her instruments. "How long ago did you achieve this transformation?" "Time has little meaning here, but in your terms approximately 2 million years ago. I have spent that time, learning and teaching, watching civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy." "What happened to your original species?" War Leader Grunt asked. "They became us. They chose to evolve beyond their physical forms and join the eternal work of guardianship. Some chose to remain physical and continued their normal development. Both choices were respected." Jake felt a chill of understanding. "That is the choice you are offering humanity and the other species here. Evolve and join you, or remain as we are." "Not exactly," the Curator replied. "The choice is more complex than that. Come, let us show you what guardianship truly means." They walked through the City of Light, seeing wonders beyond imagination. In one area, they observed architects tending to young stars like gardeners nurturing flowers. In another, they watched as cosmic forces were carefully guided to prevent catastrophic collisions between galaxies. "We do not rule," the Curator explained, as they toured the impossible city. "We guide, we protect, we teach. When a species shows wisdom, we help them grow. When they show destructive tendencies, we limit their ability to harm others." Dr. Theiss processed this information rapidly. "You have been manipulating galactic development for millions of years." "Gently guiding," the Curator corrected. "Like parents watching over children, stepping in only when necessary to prevent serious harm." Battle Leader Zex growled with concern. "What gives you the right to control other species?" "The same thing that gives parents the right to guide their children. Love, wisdom, and the responsibility that comes with greater knowledge." They entered a vast chamber where thousands of architects worked together, their light forms weaving patterns that controlled the fundamental forces of space and time. Jake realized they were watching the beings who kept the galaxy stable and safe. "This is why we need new guardians," the Curator explained. "The galaxy is growing larger and more complex. New species are developing faster than ever before. We need help from beings who still remember what it is like to be young and uncertain." "Why humans specifically?" Dr. Kess sang. "Humans have a unique quality among galactic species. They adapt quickly, they form alliances easily, and they have shown the ability to grow beyond their original nature. Most importantly, they seem to genuinely care about the welfare of other species." "That is not how the Kryn see humans," Battle Leader Zex objected. "Because you have only seen them in competition with you," the Curator replied gently. "Here, observe." The chamber around them shifted, showing scenes from across human space. They saw human doctors working to cure diseases that affected alien species. They watched human engineers sharing technology freely with less advanced civilizations. They observed human diplomats working tirelessly to prevent wars between other species. "Humans are not perfect," the Curator admitted. "They can be violent, selfish, and short-sighted. But they also have the capacity for tremendous growth and compassion." War Leader Grunt spoke up. What about the rest of us? Do we not deserve consideration? All species deserve consideration. That is why you are here. The choice of new guardians affects everyone in the galaxy. Your input is essential. Professor, Nell studied her readings from the chamber around them. The energy patterns here are beyond anything we thought possible. How long would it take a species to learn to use such power? Centuries at minimum. The transformation is gradual. No, species gains this power overnight. There are many steps, many tests, many opportunities to prove worthiness. Jake looked around at the amazing city and felt the weight of the choice before them. What happens if we say no? If humanity decides we are not ready for this responsibility? Then, you return to your normal development. You will not be harmed or punished. In perhaps 1,000 years, when your species has grown more, we will make the offer again. And if we say yes, then the real work begins. Some humans will choose to begin the transformation process. Others will remain as they are, serving as bridges between the guardians and the younger species. Your entire civilization will slowly change, becoming wiser, more compassionate, more capable of helping others. Dr. Thiss pulsed with a new pattern. This choice affects not just humans, but all of us. If humans become guardians, they will have influence over every species in the galaxy. True, the curator agreed. That is why the other species must also choose. Do you trust humans enough to accept them as guardians? Are you willing to work with them for the good of all civilizations? Battle leader Zex faced the most difficult decision of his military career. Everything his people had taught him said that strength came from independence, from trusting only your own species. But what he had seen in the nebula challenged everything he believed. Human Morrison, Zex said formally, if your species becomes guardians, what assurance do we have that you will not use this power against us? Jake met the Kryn leader's compound eyes directly. The same assurance you have that I will not attack you right now. Trust, based on what you have observed of our character. That is not much assurance. No, Jake agreed. But it is all any of us really have. The chamber around them suddenly shifted, and the investigation team found themselves standing in a vast amphitheater made of crystallized starlight. Thousands of architect beings surrounded them, their forms of pure energy creating a chorus of light that pulsed with ancient wisdom. The time for decision has come, the curator announced. But first you must face the final test. Not a test of individual species, but a test of your ability to work together when everything is at stake. The floor beneath their feet became transparent, revealing the galaxy spread out below them like a living map. Jake Morrison and the others could see their home worlds, their fleets, their civilizations scattered across the cosmic spiral. What you see now is real, the curator explained. Your consciousness has been temporarily expanded to perceive the galaxy as we do. What happens next will determine not just the fate of your species, but the future of all life in this galaxy. Suddenly, the peaceful scene changed. Dark shapes appeared at the galaxy's edge, moving inward like a plague, consuming everything in their path. Entire star systems went dark as the invasion force advanced. "What are those?" Professor Nell gasped. "The Devourers," the curator replied grimly. "A force from beyond this galaxy that consumes all life and energy it encounters. They have destroyed 12 galaxies before this one. They arrive every 50 million years, and they are coming here now." Battle leader Zex studied the approaching threat with his military mind. "How long do we have?" "In your timescale, approximately 100 years before they reach the outer systems. 200 years before they reach the galactic core." Dr. Thiss calculated rapidly, their crystal form pulsing with urgent patterns. "Our combined fleets could not stop a force of that magnitude. The energy readings are beyond anything we have ever measured. Individually, no species in this galaxy could survive the Devourers," the curator agreed. That is why the Guardians exist. That is why we need new Guardians. The current architects alone cannot stop what is coming. War Leader Grunt raised his fist. Then we fight them with everything we have. The Zephyrian Empire will not surrender to any enemy. Courage is admirable, the curator said gently, but insufficient. Only cooperation on a scale never before achieved can save this galaxy. Dr. Kess sang a mournful song. You are asking us to unite our entire civilization in the face of extinction. We are asking you to choose between survival through unity or destruction through division. Jake felt the weight of 200 billion human lives depending on his next words. Around him, the representatives of other species faced the same burden for their own peoples. What would this unity look like? Jake asked. The scene around them changed again, showing possible futures. In one vision, they saw the galaxy species working together, sharing technology and knowledge freely. Human innovation combined with Altarian science, Kryn military strength, Cetacean wisdom, and Silicon Brotherhood computing power. The combined civilization that emerged was capable of technologies that surpassed even the current architects. This is what we could become, the curator explained. Not one species ruling others, but all species contributing their best qualities to a greater whole. And if we refuse to unite? Dr. Theiss asked. The vision changed to show the alternative. Species fighting among themselves even as the devourers approached. Resources wasted on petty conflicts while the real enemy consumed world after world. The galaxy's civilizations falling one by one, too proud and too afraid to work together. How do we know this is not manipulation? Battle Leader Zex demanded. How do we know you are not creating this threat to force us into submission? Because, the curator replied sadly, you can verify it for yourselves. The amphitheater filled with instruments that materialized from light itself. Each species could use their own technology to scan the galaxy's edge and confirm what the architects had shown them. Professor Nell worked frantically with her Altarian sensors. After several minutes, she looked up with fear in her eyes. The readings are accurate. There is definitely something massive approaching from beyond the galaxy. Dr. Theiss finished their own calculations. The energy signatures match the projections. The threat is real. Jake felt his world shifting as he realized the impossible choice they faced. Unite with former enemies to face an unimaginable threat or maintain independence and face extinction. There has to be another way, he said. There is, the curator replied, but it requires the greatest sacrifice of all. What sacrifice? Some members of each species must choose to begin the transformation immediately. To join with us now, rather than waiting for the gradual change over centuries. Only by combining the power of current architects with new guardians from your species can we hope to stop the devourers. The amphitheater fell silent except for the humming of cosmic forces around them. Each representative understood what was being asked. Some of them would have to give up their physical existence, their normal lives, their very humanity or alien nature, to become something new. How many? War Leader Grunt asked quietly. From each species, perhaps a dozen individuals who show the greatest capacity for growth and sacrifice. They would become the core of a new guardian order, while their home civilizations work together to prepare for the coming war. Dr. Kess sang a question filled with sorrow. And those who transform, would they still be themselves? They would be more than themselves, the curator answered. They would retain their memories, their personalities, their connections to their original species, but they would also gain perspective and power beyond current imagination. Jake looked around at his companions. Dr. Alex Foster, Maria Santos, Ben Carter, Lisa Park, all good people who had families and dreams waiting for them back on Earth. Could he ask any of them to give up their human lives for the galaxy? Captain, Dr. Alex Foster said quietly, I volunteer. Alex, no. You have a wife and children waiting at home. And they will all die if we fail here. At least this way I can help save them. One by one, members of each species began to volunteer. War Leader Grunt stepped forward for the Zephyrians. Dr. Kess sang her willingness to transform for the Cetacean Collective. Professor Nell offered herself for the Altarian Republic. "This is madness," Battle Leader Zex protested. "We are talking about the fundamental change of our nature based on the word of beings we met hours ago." "No," Jake said, understanding finally dawning on him. "We are talking about growing up, about taking responsibility not just for ourselves, but for all life in the galaxy." The curator watched as the representatives struggled with the greatest decision in galactic history. "You do not have to choose now. Return to your fleets, to your governments, to your people. Discuss what you have learned. But know that time is limited. The longer you wait to unite, the harder it will be to prepare for what is coming." "How long do we have to decide?" Dr. Theiss asked. "One of your years. After that, the Devourers will be too close to stop, regardless of what we do." As they prepared to return to the USS Horizon, Jake realized that nothing would ever be the same. Whether they succeeded or failed, the galaxy had changed forever in these few hours. 1 year later, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Unity Station, watching as ships from across the galaxy arrived for the most important ceremony in galactic history. The station floated at the edge of the Veil Nebula, a joint construction project that had taken the combined efforts of 12 species working together. The year since the discovery had transformed the galaxy in ways no one could have imagined. Fear of the approaching Devourers had accomplished what millions of years of diplomacy could not: true cooperation between species who had viewed each other as rivals or threats. "Captain Morrison," Admiral Kate Sullivan said as she joined him, at the viewport, "the final volunteers have arrived. Are you ready for this?" Jake nodded, though his heart was heavy. Today, representatives from each major species would undergo the transformation to become new architects. Among them were some of his closest friends and colleagues. "Any word from Dr. Foster?" Jake asked. "He sent a message this morning. He wants you to know that he is at peace with his choice." Through the viewport, Jake could see the massive construction projects taking place throughout the system. Shipyards built with combined technology were producing vessels unlike anything ever created. Human innovation merged with Altarian science, enhanced by Kryn engineering and guided by Cetacean wisdom. Battle Leader Zex approached them, his insect-like form moving with less aggression than Jake remembered from their first meeting. The Kryn warrior had become an unlikely ally over the past year. "Human Morrison," Zex said in his translated voice, "my species wishes to thank you for your courage in that first meeting. Without your invitation to board your ship, we might never have learned the truth." "We all made the choice together," Jake replied. "How are your people handling the changes?" "Better than expected. The warrior caste is eager to fight the Devourers. The worker caste is proud to contribute to the galaxy-wide construction projects. Even our most traditional leaders admit that cooperation has brought benefits they never expected." Chancellor Vex of the Altarian Republic arrived with her usual diplomatic precision. "The transformation ceremony is ready to begin. The volunteers from all species have completed their preparation." Jake felt a mixture of pride and sadness as he thought about the men and women who were about to sacrifice their individual existence for the greater good. Dr. Alex Foster from Earth, War Leader Grunt from the Zephyrian Empire, Dr. Kess from the Cetacean Collective, Professor Nell from the Altarian Republic, and representatives from 8 other species. They made their way to the Transformation Chamber, a spherical room at the heart of Unity Station where representatives from across the galaxy had gathered to witness the ceremony. At the center of the room, 12 volunteers stood in a circle, hands joined across species lines. The curator appeared as a form of shifting light, addressing the assembly in a voice that carried the weight of cosmic responsibility. "Today marks the beginning of a new age," the curator announced. Not the rule of one species over others, but the cooperative guardianship of all life in this galaxy. Dr. Alex Foster looked directly at Jake and smiled. Tell my family that I will always watch over them. Tell them yourself, Jake replied. You are not dying today. You are becoming something more. The transformation began as streams of energy flowed between the volunteers and the assembled architects. Jake watched his friend change, his physical form dissolving into patterns of light and consciousness. But through it all, Alex's essential nature remained. His curiosity, his compassion, his determination to protect others. All of it survived the transformation. One by one, the volunteers became beings of pure energy, but beings who still remembered what it meant to be mortal. They would serve as bridges between the ancient architects and the species they had sworn to protect. The new Guardian Order is complete, the curator announced. Now we must prepare for the real challenge. Over the following months, the galaxy transformed at an unprecedented pace. The new Guardians worked with their original species to develop technologies that seemed like magic. Ships that could bend space and time, weapons that could destroy entire fleets of devourers, shields that could protect entire star systems. Jake found himself promoted to admiral and placed in command of the joint galactic fleet. It was a position he had never wanted, but one that seemed natural after everything they had experienced. Admiral Morrison, Communications Officer Maria Santos, reported from the bridge of the new flagship Unity, "We are receiving reports from our deep space scouts. The devourers have reached the outer systems. How much time do we have?" "Approximately 6 months before they reach inhabited worlds." Jake nodded grimly. All their preparation was about to be tested. "Signal all fleets to take their positions. It is time to see if cooperation is stronger than conquest." The battle for the galaxy began at the rim of known space, where the combined fleets of 12 species met the Devourer invasion force. Ships designed by human engineers, powered by Altarian technology, armed with Kryn weapons, and coordinated by Cetacean wisdom, fought against an enemy that had destroyed entire galaxies. At first, the battle went badly. The Devourers were more powerful than anyone had imagined, their ships absorbing energy from destroyed vessels to become stronger. But then the new Guardians joined the fight, their transformed consciousness allowing them to coordinate the galactic fleet with impossible precision. Dr. Alex Foster, now a being of pure energy, spoke directly to Jake's mind during the battle. "Jake, we need you to trust us completely. We are going to try something that has never been attempted before." "What do you need?" "Every ship in the fleet needs to link their energy systems together. We are going to turn the entire fleet into a single organism." It was insane, dangerous, and completely against military doctrine. It was also their only chance. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," Jake broadcast to the entire galactic fleet. "Prepare to link power systems on my command." The transformation was incredible. As thousands of ships from dozens of species linked their energy systems, the fleet became something greater than the sum of its parts. Guided by the new Guardians and powered by the cooperative will of every species in the galaxy, they struck back at the Devourers with force beyond imagination. The battle raged for days, but cooperation proved stronger than consumption. The Devourer fleet was destroyed. Their advance stopped for the first time in their existence across multiple galaxies. Years later, Jake stood again on the observation deck of Unity Station, now serving as the capital of the galactic cooperation. The threats from beyond had been defeated, but more importantly, the galaxy had learned that working together made them all stronger. "Admiral," Dr. Alex Foster's voice said, his energy form materializing beside Jake, "the Council has approved the establishment of Guardian Academies in every system. Any species that wants to learn and contribute will be welcome." "How are the new students adapting?" "Better than we hoped. It turns out that when you offer knowledge instead of demanding submission, most species are eager to learn. Through the viewport, Jake could see ships from across the galaxy arriving and departing regularly. What had once been the forbidden. Vale Nebula was now the heart of galactic civilization, a place where any being could come to learn and grow. "Alex," Jake said, "do you ever regret your choice?" The Guardian's form shifted, showing warmth and contentment. "How can I regret becoming part of something greater than myself? I have not lost my humanity, Jake. I have expanded it to encompass the entire galaxy." As Jake watched the bustling activity around Unity Station, he realized that humanity's appearance in the Forbidden Zone had not been an accident or a violation of galactic law. It had been the beginning of the galaxy's greatest adventure, learning to work together as one people among the stars. The USS Horizon still floated in the nebula, now serving as a museum and symbol of the moment when the galaxy chose cooperation over conflict. Its crew had not just survived their impossible journey, they had used it to help create a future where no species would ever have to face the darkness alone.